This week, I'm sitting down with the co-founder of Strong Pilates. Welcome back to the show, Michael Ramsey.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Feels so weird calling you Michael because I know you as Rams, but yeah, it's so good to have you on. And I feel like, well, we were just chatting before we hit record that the last time you were on the pod was, I looked it up, it was in 2022, so it was a few years ago now. And yeah, there's been so many things that have happened with Strong and with you in that time. So I'm just really excited to chat.
That is a long time ago, particularly in the fitness world. Things move so quickly. So that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it does feel so. And you've moved several times since then as well.
Yeah, I lived in Byron for a little bit, which was really nice. And now I'm back in Melbourne for a couple of months. So just getting around the team in the office and seeing family and that. And then I'll move to the US sort of late April. So really exciting.
Very, very exciting. And that's all to do with Strong, obviously.
Yeah, it's for our rollout there. So we've now sold. It's looking like it'll be close to 150 sites across the US. So we have a really aggressive rollout plan, pretty much in all like the major areas, your LAs, your New Yorks, Texas, Florida, all those kind of very fitness sort of orientated hubs. And then, there's a greater rollout to sort of even more remote areas now. So really exciting. I just need to get over there and do my thing and try and replicate really what we've done in Oz, which has been great.
Yeah. I mean, It's been amazing to see. And I mean, I can't just even imagine thinking about it now, those main cities like LA, New York, like I just feel like this is just going to take off there because they're just fiends for this kind of stuff. So once it takes off there, it's just going to go everywhere, which is amazing.
Yeah. And there's some really like cool brands doing great stuff over there. Like I think there was a big article recently about Solid Core over there who exited. I'd say they're probably the most similar product to Strong. And they're just flying. And it's really cool because, Australia, we have great entrepreneurs that are always exporting stuff. But as a country, we're so small. You go to the States and the density in population and just the sheer market size is crazy. So I can't wait to break some records over there and just see what we can actually do and bring a really unique product to that market.
Yeah, it's so cool. And like I was saying to you as well, I feel like I've known about the concept well before the Elstonwick studio, which is the first flagship studio open. And so for me, having been in the Pilates space for such a long time, to see the brand grow and evolve and not only in concept and brand, but just the actual product itself and what you're delivering to the client and the client experience is so incredible. So I'm really, really excited to, kind of tease into all the stuff that you've been doing over the last few years. And so for people who maybe aren't across what Strong is, I feel like we were just saying, I'm not sure anybody doesn't know what it is, but just in case people don't know, in a nutshell, let's tell people what Strong is.
So we're a reformer Pilates concept that is a hybrid with a rower or a bike with the inclusion of strength training. So really it's strength, cardio, Pilates. That would be the most simple way I can explain it.
And it's always evolving because I feel like when it first started, it just had the rower, then the Concept 2 came in, and then, well, the strength's always been part of it, but that programming has always been evolving. And so it's so cool to see. And it's really, really fun. Yeah,
the strength's like a really interesting one because like we're a membership model. So people might pay anywhere between, $60 and $80 a week to train at Strong. So and a lot of the stuff that we do is based off consumer data and what our consumers actually want. And to charge like an ongoing membership like that for Pilates, where people are normally just dropping in for 1 or 2 sessions, people want an element of strength training. They want to grow lean muscle. They want to get stronger. And it's tough to do with just sort of standard reformer. So what we've tried to do is sort of layer on those elements and give more value so that the membership model works. So yeah, it keeps sort of growing and progressing, but it's super popular. I think we're at 82 locations today, and probably another 250 on the way now. So yeah. Pretty cool.
Obviously working what you're doing, so that's a good sign. And I wanted to share this with you because I actually recently did a Pilates class not long ago. It made me think of Strong, but it wasn't at Strong. So I tried a Pilates class at a different studio, and I've done lots of reformer classes. And just to say that Strong is not reformer, but I did a class at a reformer studio, and it was probably one of the most not so great ones that I've done, but it made me think of Strong. And I thought it was really interesting because it made me think, what is it about Strong that I like so much? And, it wasn't just the actual physical place or the fit out in the studio, but it was also the vibe, the music, the way the class was delivered, obviously the programming. And this one that I went to was just sort of a bit like meh, and I think that's just a testament to how many elements you actually bring together to create a really great experience for the client when I'm in another studio thinking about Strong. And I'm in the Pilates space as well. So, and also I want to asterisk this by saying that I'm not an ambassador for Strong. I've never worked for Strong. I just genuinely love the workout. So I think this is a good topic to kind of get into. And I think a lot of people who are listening to the podcast are in the wellness space and they are entrepreneurs and own businesses. And the client experience is really, really important. And sometimes it's in the little details. So let's get into this, the guts of the Strong client experience. And obviously it's evolved over the years, but what is your sort of framework for having created this experience?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big process. And I got asked this question actually not long ago, if I had unlimited sort of capital, what would I do? And the first thing I would do is deploy just loads of market research and find out what our consumers love, what makes them tick. It's really interesting, like not only from a workout perspective, from a community perspective, from as simple as the check-in process to what they actually want out of their workout. And then there's also these really cool correlations with the fitness industry. There's like a correlation between chocolate and the fitness industry. Like it's really cool. You can get really intricate with data and things like that. But for us, yeah, it's just been, all right, what does our client firstly need in terms of a workout, and how does that look, and then who is our actual client? Like with Strong. Particularly, we're sort of we're kind of this unique concept that doesn't actually exist anywhere else. There's not really a lot of hybrid cardio, Pilates, strength concepts out there, right? So the big one for us started with education. So a client needs to feel comfortable. Part of that is a pretty decent kind of onboarding procedure before the class. Here's the reformer, here's the rower that's attached to the reformer, here's the straps, here's the springs, this is how this works, thinking about what messaging someone who's brand new needs to receive before they come in. And then to start to build that out, we're like, okay, so what else does our consumer need? And one big thing that we've done, and I think we spoke about this on our last podcast, was being very gender neutral and going for men. And so, and typically a lot of men haven't done Pilates. So we think, okay, what do the men need? And in terms of making them feel comfortable, we developed the screens. So you've got the visual guide of the exercise on the screens. And then when we put them up, we got a much higher conversion of men transferring from trials to memberships. So, and then you continue to build that out. So you've got the fundamentals of the introduction to the reformer. You've got the screens that help people. It's a visual guide for people, it's still instructor led, but, and then, down to, okay, what does the music need to sound like? What does our consumer like to listen to? What's it feel like when you're training to music from a Pilates perspective to when you're rowing? So then getting all those elements right. What does the lighting look like? Do people row better when the lights are down and the energy's up? All those kind of little things to kind of, and the finish isn't at the end when you get the cold towel that's been soaked in eucalyptus oil that's in the fridge and it feels amazing and everything. Like the consumer experience continues beyond when they leave the studio. What messaging do they get afterwards? What do we need to do to create that stickiness in the consumer to get them to book into their next class. What class do they actually want to do? Do they want to do a lower body loaded class, to build a booty or whatever it is, or do they want to do more of a sort of, Pilates only reformer class, because that's more in their wheelhouse and maybe they're coming back from injury and things like that. So it's quite intricate, and bringing all those elements together is huge. It takes a whole team. I can't do this on my own anymore. So and it just constantly develops. Little things like even launching in the US now, I want every studio to have music in their reception, because, if you've got 20 people hanging out the front of the class, and sometimes, particularly with new studios, they don't have that community built yet. Just having music playing makes all the difference. Having instructors say the names of clients during class is massive. Like, I would say that's probably the number one success factor in our top performing studios, is instructors knowing the names of clients. So all those little elements come into it, and it's an absolute minefield.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good. And I just, it just was so interesting that was the thing that came to mind when I went into another studio. I was like, what? There's so many elements that Strong does so well. And they're really little things, but combined together accumulatively makes it really amazing, which is so cool. So what's your secret to staying ahead of the game, really, and innovating the space? Because Strong is so different than other Pilates experiences. And what is that? What is that you're able to keep innovating? Yeah,
it's like innovation. My belief is it's infinite, so it can never be turned off. There's really no sort of successful long-term brands that have stayed the same, whether it be a product or a service offering, or whether it's in hospitality. Things are always moving and developing. And for me, it's more setting a task of every year delivering a major innovation, whether that's machine-based innovation, whether that's a programming innovation, whether that's a tech innovation, and just drawing inspiration, I guess, from, doesn't necessarily need to be the fitness space, but from a technology perspective, what's out there that's improving people's experience, what's out there that's making things easier operationally. So, and a lot of these innovations are now sort of B2B. So we're working with the franchisees to actually deliver better systems and better experiences. But yeah, I think it's just never being satisfied, which is a bit of a tough one, and can put strain on your team as well. Like the Strong in 2019 when we launched to Strong today is very, very different. And that drive for innovation, it does put pressure on, because people within the organization are looking, they can do their day-to-day role easy with their eyes closed. But when they're looking to progress the brand, progress the innovation, come up with cool ideas, always challenging themselves on how to be better, that is when like the true work really comes in. And that's what I like really admire about, certain types of people and personalities, that they're just, they're always self-critical and just trying to be better and be ahead. So we're kind of like, I've got this mindset, catch us if you can, like let's just keep innovating. And I feel like we're getting so far ahead that, good luck to the next person that wants to put a treadmill on a reformer or it's really exciting.
It's kind of that creating your own path, and there's it's almost like no one's been there before. So you constantly have to be thinking in that frame rather than what's been done and how can we do it differently, but more, what can we do? I mean, there's nothing we can't do. So how can we do it, basically?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much cool tech out there. Like one of the things in our pipeline down the track is to have sensors in the spring so that our clients get a score and can be rewarded based off time under tension and things like that. Like the tech side of things is moving so quickly. Stuff I was looking at 2 years ago is just old news now as well. Things like heart rate and whatever else. It's just, so you do need to keep your finger on the pulse, which is one thing I will say.
Yeah. It's very exciting though. One of the things that I think with Strong aside from everything else that you do really well is your visual presence in terms of brand identity. And your visuals and the voice is very strong. And I think what's interesting is, and I say this in the most positive and complimentary way, I feel like Strong is like the black sheep of the Pilates space in that it stands out from other Pilates brands, and they are typically, geared towards a female demographic, but what you've done with Strong works so well. It's more gender neutral. So tell me about your approach to creating brand and brand identity.
Yeah, I guess that black sheep narrative has now just become part of us. It's really interesting. Like, I just did a survey actually this week, and it's had 3,000 responses. I think there's like 22,000 people around the world training at Strong now, but 3,000 responses is quite a huge sample size. And 2 comments, we asked people why they like training at Strong. 2 comments won by a landslide. One was, I like the unique elements of strength, Pilates, cardio, and the other answer was, I want more than just Pilates. So, being in an industry, Pilates is still, there's fitness Pilates, but there's also a lot of traditionalists. And knowing what our consumer really, really wants, we're leaning into that black sheep narrative. So now our tone of voice is cheeky, it's bold. And this is not even about, visually how you look or anything like that. It's more about sort of how you sound and how you sort of represent yourself in the industry. So it's really just leaning into who we are. And there's been a bit of a deep dive now into that. And now launching in the US, we want to get even more controversial. Like we want to achieve virality by pushing boundaries and being the black sheep and pissing off the traditionalists if we have to. It's cool. Like I presented at the Pilates Journal conference last month, and I feel like we've finally been accepted into that sort of Pilates space, which is really nice. But no doubt, and this will happen, I guess, when we start really rolling out in the US, we're going to have haters, and we're going to have, all kind of people judging that, reformers shouldn't be with the role and shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. But I'm just really keen to lean into that and just sort of build that identity even further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's those things that make you stand out and not, blend in with everybody else.
Yeah. Fuck being boring.
Yeah. Exactly. You actually just opened as well studios in Asia, Japan, Korea. I feel like I went to the Singapore studio when I was there, which is actually really cool because it's cool to experience Strong in a different country. It was different, but not in the same way. So obviously it's culturally different, but you still get the same experience. And so you were in, I can't remember which place you were in, but they delivered the class in a different language, I believe. So how was that experiencing Strong in a different language? Was it Japan?
Yeah, Japan, yeah. Pretty mind-blowing, actually.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, you get these sort of reflection points where, like, because we're moving so fast, I don't really stop to smell the roses, to be honest. And those kind of moments being in Japan, like, and just seeing it all sort of come to life was really quite amazing. And like, it's cool. We're actually in Jakarta now. We're in the Philippines. We'll launch in Malaysia soon. And it's just the fact that it's transferable to other markets. And I keep going back to this, but the consumer wants this, and the fact that they want it across Asia, they want it in the UK, they want it in Canada, they want it in Dubai, they want it in, it's just awesome. And it does blow my mind sometimes when I get distracted, and then it's like, all right, back to the task at hand. But no, it's super awesome to see. But it does present its own challenges as well, like when there's language barriers and even like from a consumer standpoint, only a low portion of Japan's population, it's a big population, right? I think it's like 4% have a gym membership. So for us, Strong needs to be more entry level there. Yeah. So, there's intricacies with programming and how we deliver that to the Japanese market versus a Singapore market who's very ahead of the fitness game, maybe one of the leaders in the world in terms of sort of fitness development and boutique fitness. So super interesting and always new challenges, but it's just, really cool to see.
That's so fascinating, actually, to know that you have to come in at a different level. And then, so how do you manage that in terms of, because I'm presuming that you have heads of different areas in the world. So, US, UK will have heads there. And so then you have to have a separate, I guess, hub of how programming's delivered in Japan as opposed to other Asian countries?
Yeah, so Melbourne is still really sort of it's the powerhouse and the team there deliver the programming worldwide through our system. But what we've done with Japan is we've put on just recently someone very specific, very Pilates orientated as well, because we have strength and conditioning coaches, we have Pilates experts, we get all sorts of people coming in and supporting from physiology perspective, from a balancing programming perspective. But yeah, we've got a Pilates expert now who's Australian and just focusing on Japan, and she'll get to go over there and spend some time with the team and get to learn the consumer a little bit more. And I think, for Japan, and it's a huge population and Pilates is blowing up, it's more bringing people in at that entry level, nurturing them, and then eventually delivering the strong that exists, 5 years down the track, where people are just, rowing at incredible times and they have incredible mobility and I think we'll get there. And the cool thing is the fitness industry is always growing and it's becoming more popular year on year. There's a compounding effect. So it's not going away. So it's just nice to get in early.
Yeah, it's really cool. It'll be cool to see what that's doing in Japan in 5 years, what the changes have been.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool.
Totally.
Do another podcast and update. Now, beyond Strong, you've got such a background in and wealth of experience in the entrepreneurial space. You've run lots of businesses. What have been your biggest lessons that you've learnt that you wish you knew at the start of your journey as an entrepreneur?
Particularly when I was starting out, it's just getting the business modeling right, which is a really big one. Like, everyone's got ideas, like no one's short of ideas. You go to any sort of social event or whatever and people are talking about a million different ideas, but it's really the execution. So I think it's sort of about calming down a little bit, looking at the business model and then what's the execution look like. That would be my big one, because I've dived into so many different little projects and things like that. And if the fundamentals aren't right, it could be as basic as starting a product line and your manufacturing costs are way too expensive, so you're never going to get into wholesale. Like, there's all those little examples where you kind of need to get it right from the start to be able to scale. So that's definitely my biggest lesson. Before looking at brand identity, before looking at marketing strategies, before looking at anything else, it's and knowing that there is an audience there as well. But
taking that time to get the foundation right. I feel like that's something I've learned along my journey as well. And I think too, you sort of, when you have all these ideas as a creative, you want to get them out, you want to start acting on them, but that can just kind of take you in the wrong direction. And you sort of want to take that time to do, market research and make sure that there's something there solid that you can build on and scale, right?
And and the interesting thing on that point with the ideas, when you're at scale, like Strong is now, you don't really have the opportunity to fuck up those ideas, because every idea trickles down to 82 locations, which trickles down to how many tens of thousands of people. So everything needs to be meticulously done. Like, you can't just say, I'm going to do this tomorrow and roll it out through the network. It needs to be tested and just perfect. So it's super interesting. I guess you're a little more flexible when you're starting out and smaller, right?
Yeah. Now you're in global expansion. What are the big things that you're learning in regards to scaling? Because that's a whole startup and scaling, totally different sections of the journey. What are your big lessons you're learning now?
Infrastructure is a really, really big one. Having systems set up and stuff, and pre-training staff to get ready for the onslaught, so to speak. That's just like probably the biggest one is having the infrastructure in place to scale. Now that can be as simple as, having master trainers available to take academies to make sure we've got instructors qualified all around the world, or it can be as like complex as the software systems we're using. Do they have the reporting functions and the ability that we need to be able to scale at pace? So they're really the big things. Looking at your staff structures, your software, even legals and accounting, and as boring as it is, having those things in place to be able to do that. And then I guess from a global perspective, it's also having that ability to localize everything, which is a really big one. Quite often American stuff doesn't work in Australia and vice versa. And, Australian stuff won't work in Japan quite often, and like all sorts of things. So you need to be able to kind of localize content and messaging and things like that. I think we're lucky as Australians though, because we do have great reputations in the fitness space. There's a couple examples where we don't, but for the most part, we're very well liked. We're very well respected in the space. So it does make scaling internationally that little bit easier, I think.
Yeah. I can imagine too with scaling, like you mentioned, just that infrastructure, aside from actual systems, but people, hiring people and also leading people is a big one. So what can you share about your approach to leadership that you've been learning? Because I'm imagining this is sort of the biggest sort of, team that you're leading in this space.
Yeah, it's I'm getting better. It's like what I'm finding now is just trying not to get too caught in the weeds and really using the team the way they should be and uplifting the team. Like even now going through this transition period to scale the US, we have got incredible US hires. And, normally, let's say when I started into the first 3 years or 4 years, I was into everything, whether it's piece of programming, whether it's how a single studio is performing, all these little aspects, every marketing campaign, every single little thing, what's the merch look like all these things, right? And it's not attainable at scale. It really isn't. So, just sort of relying on staff and really empowering staff. The one message I try to get across is probably the two messages. A would be the innovation piece. So I like staff to make mistakes, but always be thinking ahead, presenting new ideas. That's a really, really big one. And the second thing that I'm really trying to stamp out, it's like a cognitive dissonance where it's, we didn't achieve this because of this factor. So for an example, let's say let's say we're opening a new studio and the pre-sale for the studio only gets 100 members, right? Our average is like 250 or something. For someone to say, well, we didn't achieve this because there's another Pilates studio down the road that opened and it was a really bad time of the year to do it. And maybe the area is just not right for it. Those kind of little excuses I am trying to stamp out. I think there's always a way, and if we hold ourselves at a really, really high standard, we will always get there. There's always hurdles. Like the whole thing has been problem solving for the entire duration of the business. So just stamping that out and having staff have the confidence to go, no, I've got this, and I trust my skill set and my instincts. That's a really, really big one. So from a leadership perspective, that's what I'm trying to work on now. And I think it's more of a mindset than anything, to be honest. Yeah.
100%. Do you find that now it's almost like you have to do these kinds of, provides resources or something for franchisees that will help instill those qualities in them, or to instill more confidence in their own intuition about, building their own business? Is that kind of the tact you're taking?
Yeah, there's a whole performance team within our business. So they help the studios kind of improve and try and generate more revenue and try and get better utilization in their classes and try and all those things. Keep members for longer. We want members trading with us for 10 years. So how do you do that? And part of that, and I don't envy the performance team because it's a tough job, but you need to look at a studio, and let's say, and we're very lucky because I think it's only it's a very small percentage of our studios that we would consider, red flags or need a lot of help. We're very lucky. We're kind of doing pretty well in the industry. But the team needs to come in and identify, okay, what actually is it? Why isn't this studio performing well? Is it the team? Is it the instructor team? Is it the marketing? Do we need to increase leads? Do we need more people just coming in and trialing Strong? Is it, the process of someone signing up and not getting a follow-up phone call? Is the studio dirty? All these little things are super important, and there's a lot of analysis. And then when we figure out, okay, what is the actual issue? It's then, okay, how do we solve the issue? So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield, but and very case by case. But the idea is that we're supporting our franchisees to achieve, killer studios with killer experiences.
Yeah, I find that so fascinating. I reckon that would be so interesting to look at why one particular studio isn't performing as well as another, and then just teasing out all those pieces and how can you improve on those particular things. So fascinating. So what would be your best tips for business owners, whether they're franchisees of Strong or whether they're local, national, global? What are your best tips for entrepreneurs in building business? It's a big question.
Yeah, and I've probably said it a few times during this potty, but I think finding out what your consumer wants, making what makes them tick. The big one for us has been solving a problem. So yeah, people love Pilates. People want to sign up to a membership. They like the community, but what is the problem that needs to be solved? Well, they need strength training as well. They need cardio, not just for increased heart rate and burning body fat, but for heart health and longevity. And people need to train sustainably, so they need a low impact solution where they can burn calories and they can build muscle. So we're really solving a problem. I find that's what's really made us stand apart in the industry. So that would be my big thing is try and solve a problem. It's probably, and I think I just fell on it. It wasn't something I was actively trying to solve. I think just finding the row former and then diving into consumer and then developing sort of the business to where it is has been something that I wouldn't say came out of nowhere, but it's certainly a problem we've been able to solve over time. But it's a really tough one because a lot of things have been solved now, right? There's so much good stuff happening from an entrepreneurial perspective. There's so many interesting businesses. So it's actually a really tough question. Yeah.
I feel like though a lot of the times the biggest successful businesses come from something, because this started from a personal journey of yours when I believe it was when you broke your ankle, right? And because there's something inherently in you that needs to solve a problem, and so you go searching for it. It's which is really cool, because I think then too there's a connection for you to the business in a personal sense, rather than it just being I just had this idea and we're going to solve this problem. But that's nice that you've got that connection as well.
Yeah, it's nice. I love group work. I can't train on my own at a gym. I love group workouts. I love intensity in workouts as well. And I fell in love with Pilates, but I felt like I needed more. I needed to sweat. I needed my heart rate to be elevated. I think strength training is incredible, particularly for longevity of life. And it was, it is a bit of a personal thing now for me. And I'm really kind of privileged that I get, this is my job. Like, I get to solve this problem, and it's something that I'm passionate about. I don't do much else outside of this now. I joke I used to be fun and interesting, but now all I do is this, really, and I've got my beautiful wife and son, and that's it. So it's really nice to be able to have something that's so personally connected to you. It's also bad in the sense that you take offense to anything that's, any criticism or anything like that. But it sort of all comes with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like your second baby. Well, actually your first baby before your son was born. Now, how do you go about balancing business and your personal health and fitness? I mean, obviously you have access to 1 million Strong studios, but in terms of time management and whatnot, because I know you're very busy, how do you balance your own well-being?
Yeah, it's just prioritizing at least one training session a day, and sort of eating not too bad. I mean, they're just fundamentals. It's movement, nutrition, and sleep, right? Things like, there's times when you need to sprint, and from a work perspective, and it might be 3:30 in the morning through till 11 o'clock at night for 3 days straight, and those times. And I've sort of learnt to not be too harsh on myself when I have to go through that, because it's just a period of time that needs to be addressed. And being international, there's all different time zones and stuff. But as long as that's not constant, and I sort of give myself a bit of a break, and I'm not too hard on myself, I tend to be able to manage a pretty healthy lifestyle with work. And, being one of the founders enables me to be flexible sometimes with my time. If I need to duck out at lunchtime to do a training session, I will. And the other thing I think, which is like a huge benefit, and I get to go all around the world with this business, is I just love fitness and boutique fitness. So I will go, like, the first thing I'll do, I'll land in actually LA in 2 weeks' time, is just go book into some random boutique fitness thing, boot camp, whatever it is. And it has this sort of offset of being fit and healthy, right? But for me, it's my role and my job, and I need to be learning and doing new things. So, it's sort of like pretty lucky that this is my industry, and that's sort of where the balance comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool to see. And like I've said to you outside of the pod, it's just, I think, being in the space and having seen everything that's happened from conception basically to opening the studio to global expansion, is incredible what you're doing. And I think you're just so inspiring in the space. So thanks so much for being on the show. I've absolutely loved chatting to you and catching up with everything.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
No worries.
Let's do another one in maybe 5 years?
Yeah, let's do another one in a few years.